don't worry, I can't start without you. Yeah.
Yes.
You're being summoned. I'd like to call this meeting to order for October 20th, and it is 6:34 p.m. And if you'll all join me with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So I'd like to welcome everybody to this meeting, and we are down here at Festival Foothills Elementary School, and we have four board members present physically. We have Randy Hodges, Ron Alexander, Sandy Gill, and telephonically we have Susan Webster. This will be her table, so she's on that phone. So anyway, I'd like to welcome everybody here, and if we can get an adoption of the agenda, please.
I move
Yep.
to adopt the agenda.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Okay, we're going to lead right into our busyness. We have item number 2, information and discussion items. Presentation, update for Festival Foothills Elementary School repairs and costs, presented by Low Mountain Construction, presented by Mr. Arthur Case. Good evening. Yes, please.
Case. I'm the president of Low Mountain Construction. We are here to present the work that we have done on a design build contract to date, which is the design part, and to describe what's coming up with the construction part. And so to do that, to talk about what we've done, I'd like to introduce Rob Bergheimer. He's a principal of Sketch Architecture, who we engaged for the design portion of the project.
Thank you, Art. We're going to try to give you a quick lowdown on this as we time for questions.
Go back. Can you talk into the microphone, please? Thank you. We're just streaming, so
Okay, hold on. Let me move this so I can see.
perfect.
Oh, is it okay to take it off? Thank you.
Sure.
Good.
There you go.
Okay, so as you can see here, here is the school site over here. The project right now is, you know, the greater school area here. So we're looking at, you have building A and B and C and D. So this project requires some site work as well as building work, interior as well as exterior work. What I would like to do is kind of tell you what we've accomplished so far. Since we've been engaged on this project. We did a very detailed evaluation of the existing conditions on this project. My partner and I spent several days out here walking the school. We documented and photo referenced every crack, every damaged area on campus. As you look throughout the campus, you'll see a yellow sticker, and that means that we accounted for that crack. We documented it, and we have a photo reference of where that was, as well as the damage that it was at the time that we walked through. This will be helpful for future issues. If we have more settlement or new things develop, we'll be able to determine if that was new or was that an existing crack. That took us quite a bit of time. It's about a 300-page document of pictures and documentation. We reviewed the interior and exterior conditions. We walked all the exterior of the building and the campus. We also went ahead and looked at the roof and roof system. It's one of my specialties is doing roof analysis, and we were trying to figure out if some of the roof leaks and issues that you guys are having here is related to the settlement issues that we've had out here. I can tell you that the two items are separate, but we did look at that, and we are not going to walk away from this project and leave you hanging. So it is our intent to get to the bottom of why we have so many roof leaks in some locations throughout the campus, and we're going to give you some recommendations so that you'll have that. We also did a thorough structural and geotechnical evaluation. We hired the original structural and geotechnical firms that did the settlement, and that made it much easier for us to get the ground running. It was quite difficult because of the non-disclosure agreements, so we had to kind of navigate around that and get this, and also get this repaired. We also generated different options that we looked at. We reviewed those options with the engineers and made recommendations on what was the most cost-effective items that needed to be done. We discussed level of depth of damage and what things needed to be done and what things could be put off. We also looked at all those interior areas. We also classified those by medium and heavy and light damage. And so we have a ranking system that we used. We also went through and reviewed all the exterior building stucco, and we generated repair options for the repairing of the stucco. We also we prepared repair documents so that the individual subcontractors could bid the project, so that ARC could actually give you a quantifiable number. And then we've also selected bids, and they have been tabulated and evaluated. Also, we've received permits from we've submitted plans for Buckeye for permitting, and I believe that we are done on our permits as well. So we're ready to go as soon as you guys are ready to get started. This is a quick overview of the interior damage of the heavy repairs. These were the areas that we felt have to be done. They were not an alternate. These are things that we just felt like there's no way, we can't walk away. These have to be completed. Most of these repairs are related to buildings C and D, and there's some areas in building A as well that fit into this category of heavy repairs, and those are all slated to be repaired. These are things that related to large gaps in walls, or where the ceiling started to bulge out and the ceiling tile started to come down. So obviously we got ceiling repairs and drywall repairs and cracks to repair as well. Typical exterior repairs are related to the stucco and the stucco system. Unfortunately, the stucco repairs were unrelated to the settlement issue, but our recommendation on the stucco repairs was related to kind of a construction-related issue and cost savings ways when they were installing the stucco. So it's kind of a cosmetic thing. There are hairline cracks throughout, but none of them substantial on the exterior of the building. So it really is kind of a cosmetic thing. So we developed with the manufacturer repair options that would be the best option for this school. A little bit about the structural repairs. We're going to be doing helical piers, and for lay people that don't know what that is, it's essentially a giant jack that gets inserted into the ground, and it's screwed down into the jack. It gets essentially attached to the existing foundation, and that will stabilize the foundation. We're not going to bring the walls back into plumb. We're not going to do any of that. It's too expensive, but we are going to stabilize it. So this system, these helical piers, are what we're proposing for the project. They will require taking out areas where we have concrete sidewalks and digging a hole, drilling these down. They get epoxy and fastened to the footing. We also have, as part of the recommendation repairs, to do truss repairs as well to strengthen the trusses. The conditions of the trusses were a little weak, and we're also going to provide additional support for the trusses. On this here, we have our proposed scope of work. I'm going to turn this over to Art, and he's going to talk a little bit about the phasing plan. Art?
I don't want to correct the architect, but you know, the truss repair would be better categorized as a roof-to-wall connection. Our engineer, you know, as the foundation settled, it caused the exterior walls to rotate out about an inch. And he says part of the problem is the roof-to-wall connections weren't strong enough to keep that wall from moving. And so we're going throughout the entire building and putting in 350 anchors that will anchor the trusses to the wall. Will go through the ledger and into the masonry. And again, we are not trying to put the wall back in place it's almost not a matter that it's too expensive, it's just not possible. So our engineers are just happy. We get everything stable, we fix everything, and it's not gonna move anymore. So in that way, it'll get fixed. We have talked to school administration about how we're going to phase the project. The campus is now operational. We have students here. And so we're gonna do this just a phase at a time. We're gonna start in the back of building C and D because we think that's probably the place where we can have least conflict with the students. We'll get good at what we're doing. And then we're just gonna go around the buildings. Our intent, we'll have a full-time superintendent on the job site, and he will talk to school administration literally every day and say, here's what our plan is for this week, and just make sure that our work doesn't conflict either inside or outside. How do you get the slide to change? Is that, oh, there we go. And then we have developed a schedule. We think we're gonna be on site about 4 months. We're gonna take advantage of winter break to the greatest extent possible, particularly with interior repairs. But you know, essentially we'll start on the outside and start stabilizing the foundations, and then as that work continues, we'll come inside and do our roof-to-wall connections and our major cosmetic repairs. So that's it as far as the presentation is concerned, unless anybody has any questions.
Randy, do you have any questions?
I was going to ask, you're not moving the walls back, so for example, that large crack that you had in that picture, how will you repair that crack? Is it?
What we're going to do, what we're proposing to do there is we're going to take the drywall off, 2 studs back, and we're going to cut the drywall, and we're going to put a new piece on it.
Okay. All right. I just, yeah, because I know there's several cracks like in the corners and stuff like that that are, you know, pretty good gap, you know, where you can see outside from the inside.
Honestly, a lot of these, even though they're quite large, you see, once this is repaired correctly, it'll take a very, very trained eye to even notice it. It's so small. It's easy to see when you got a big gap, but when it gets repaired and everything, most places will never even ever notice it.
Okay. And yeah, one other question. At the first, when you was going through all the parts that you had inspected, I didn't get. You said you're talking about the roof and leaks in the roof and stuff like that. Were you going to just identify those, or were you also going to repair those? I didn't catch what you said on that.
Just address that. We've been up on the roof a number of times. We've been up there with the manufacturer. We have a lot of roof leaks where there's mechanical units, and we think that there are roof penetrations associated with those that just were never installed correctly, and we think we can fix them for really very little money. And so we have an allowance in our proposed GMP to repair those. And once we're able to get out here, we're going to come out with the architect and with the original roofing contractor, who actually is a good contractor and we work with a lot. And we're going to do some water testing on that and really pinpoint where those leaks are. We're not in a position to re-roof this building. It's a 15-year roof and it's 13 years old, so you know its life expectancy is just about shot, but we think we can probably solve most of the roof leak problems until you can re-roof the project.
Okay. Thank you.
My only question is, you said you have all the permits,
Yes.
so did you have to pay anything for the permits, or did they not charge you because it's a school?
I have not received the final vindication. Our preliminary discussions with them is they are waiving all permits here, all fees
For the school.
for the school.
Okay.
So, which is very unusual, by the way. So I was very surprised to hear that. So I'm almost, you know, pitching myself on that to see if that's what's going to happen. But I haven't received the final call. We had a couple notes that we had to put on a drawing. I'm just waiting for them to process that, and we'll know for sure. But the preliminary indication was that there was no cost to the school.
Good. Okay, thank you.
Susan, do you have any questions for them?
No, thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate your time. All right, item B in section 2 would be our recognitions and proclamations. Anybody from the board have anything that they wanted to?
I do. I would like to recognize Doug Clements, who does his announcing for our football game. Not only a teacher in the high school, but a teacher for the Wickenburg Virtual Academy, and what cross-country coach also puts in a dedicated person to put in his time to announce at those football games. And Friday was our first time, I think, with our new sound system there, and it was excellent. I think it was very good. I wanted to recognize his diligence that he put in to announcing and communicating with the fans, the crowd there, about the COVID guidelines and the rules and that regulations that we have in place there. A good portion of the fans followed those guidelines and that, but I think it gave us a little indication of where we need some clarifications and things like that for the fans for our next home game, which will be our homecoming game. So Doug does an excellent job, and he kept at that. He was diligent with it. Probably a dozen times he was announcing to people there about the COVID guidelines. So
Good.
Recognize that.
Thanks, Randy. Ron?
No, I was going to recognize all the teachers, administrators, the staff, the other workers that gave up part of their fall break to have the schools ready for students arriving yesterday. And I just wanted to recognize them for their diligence doing that and dedication.
Thank you. Sandy, do you have anything?
He stole it.
Oh, you did?
But I would also like to thank, along with that, is Jim and his guys and the maintenance guys that got everything marked and done and sprayed and what have you. Just everybody, I think, from the top, from the superintendent down, everybody, office staff, teachers, everyone who has worked so hard so that we could all go back to school yesterday.
Right.
They make me happy.
Thanks, Sandy. Susan, do you have anything this time?
I think that everybody else already sort of covered what I was going to say.
All right. Thank
I'm
you.
good.
All right, thank you. Dr. Ramandini?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Malio. As superintendent of the school, I would like to extend my gratitude and sincere appreciation to every member of the Wickenburg Unified School District team for ensuring that our students had a successful first day of school. Monday, October 19th was a very special day for all of us, our students and our families, and our dedicated staff have been working hard to ensure that everything went well for each and every one of them. I would also like to thank our students and parents for their patience, understanding, and support during remote learning. We appreciate all that you have done to continue learning and growing. We are so happy to have everyone back to school, and we look forward to the rest of the school year. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ramandini. All right, next section. See, when you go last, you don't get to say much, so they already covered everything for me. So now we are into item C, which is our governing board member report. Mr. Alexander was our delegate assembly at the Arizona School Boards Association conference. And do you have anything to report?
Yeah, as Joe mentioned, I attended the Arizona School Board Association Delegate Assembly via Zoom last Saturday. I had done the same thing in person last year. This one was much less painful than being in person. It lasted about 3 hours less because people couldn't get a good idea while they were there, and put in a recommendation to change or amend the agenda. The agenda that we had to vote on was exactly the same agenda that we had reviewed at our September 15th meeting, and all items on the agenda were approved. There were about all total about 10 of the items were changed from the previous year. The rest of them were the same as that was on the agenda the year before. And this agenda is what the ASBA will use in their dealings with the legislature, and to try to get them to put influence in their motions that they make for those particular different laws and different things. So it was an interesting. Via Zoom, they had everything pretty much locked down. There was no cameras, no microphones. The only thing you had was you could chat or you could ask questions. There were those two options, and a raise your hand. If you raise your hand, when they recognize you, they give you a button that you could turn on your mic, and then the screen filled up with a 2-minute countdown timer. And when that 2 minutes was up, boom, you were done. So that helped a lot as well. But anyway, the big point is the agenda is the same thing that we saw in September, and it was passed. So.
Thank you, Ron.
Wasn't there something you were gonna try to get changed?
Okay, now we roll into our principal reports, and tonight we've got Festival Foothills, Hacienda, and Vulture Peak Middle School. So we will start with Festival Foothills and Mrs. Case. But we'll just see if Randy has anything on Festival.
No, not at all. That was a very good report.
Okay, Ron?
Yeah, I like the discipline report. It was really good.
Yeah.
That's the way I want to see him the rest of the year. Sandy?
I guess my thing is, and you know, my thing always is testing. And I know under all the circumstances, you know, these aren't going to be the greatest because of all that's been going on. So were they tested while they were at home, or how were they tested? Looking at these, I thought the third graders came in really well. Okay, so we're gonna have a good group of kids going through from third grade. Great, fantastic. That was all I wanted to say.
Okay. Susan, do you have anything for Mrs. Case, Festival?
I just wanted to say kudos on the counseling. It sounds like the social emotional learning and the the lessons are probably going to be really good for the kids. So that's all I wanted to mention.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Julie. All right, so we've got Hacienda, and we'll start at Randy again. Anything for Hacienda? These are light reports, by the way, because we haven't been in school, so there's not a lot of material for us to peruse, so comments
no,
are a
I
lot
have
less.
no comments on the reports. Good report.
I have nothing.
Okay. Sandy?
Looks like another good group of third graders.
Susan? For Hacienda?
Hi. Okay, I just wanted to say that I read about the learner labs, I knew about the learner labs, and I think it was a really great thing, and I hope that you find a way in person to also continue some of those services.
Didn't understand what she said.
Were you able to hear her, Carissa? No, it wasn't. She just wanted to, she was hoping that the learner labs and the additional assistance would be able to keep going now that we're back in. All right, so thank you, Carissa. Great report. And now we're at Vulture Peak Middle School and Mrs. Moran. Randy?
Just one comment in that, and something I probably expected in maybe all the schools, was the improper technology use. Was that with the computers being used at home, or how? Okay, not really as many as I expected, seeing all these kids at home with their computers and everything, but that's good. I'm glad at least, spotted a few out there. Thank you. The rest of the report's good. Thank you.
No, I have nothing.
Sandy?
No, I'm just waiting for November's results.
Okay. Susan, anything for Jennifer for Vulture Peak?
Yeah.
I guess we're good. Thank you, Jen. Appreciate it. Thank you to all our principals. Reports didn't take as long this time, but you were too busy to do them anyway with all the chasing around you were doing. So now we have our call to the public, and I've got two up here. I've got Mr. Kintz. You can start with her, sure. We have Mr. and Mrs. They can take turns, I guess.
Members of the board and
Can't hear you.
take this off. Thank you. Members of the board and superintendent. My name is Sherilyn Kentz, and I represent the Wickenburg Children's Cultural Organization. And each year in November, right before Thanksgiving, we normally have a concert. And as you might expect, and I did send out an email to all of the school principals, but we won't be able to do that, obviously, because 500 children in a event center is not going to work right now with this whole pandemic thing. So I've asked the different school principals if there might be a time in the spring when we would possibly be able to fit something like that in. I don't have a date that has been looked at by the Web Center. I have no idea because they haven't been able to put their programs together yet as well. And so I just wanted to come before you and say that we are so sad not to be able to bring an orchestra to all of the children from all of the schools all around. It's a wonderful event, and I know the children have enjoyed it in the past, and as an organization we have been thrilled to do that. So hopefully, if we aren't able to do it in the spring, then hopefully for sure next Thanksgiving time. Thank you. Are there any questions? No. Okay.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, thank you for this opportunity to speak to you tonight. We're honored to be here, both Sherilyn and myself. I'm Ed Kentz. I'm the CEO of 3 companies within Wickenburg, the Benner Nauman Company that's been there for many, many years, BN Products, which is a joint venture with some offshore partners of ours that help us with construction tools, and then an internet company based doing a number of products called Construction Concepts International. I'm here tonight, first of all, just to give you some background on me. I've been involved with lots of different organizations within our community. I've served on the CDAC board for the Maricopa County for 12 years and chaired it for a number of years. And with that, we were able to bring literally hundreds of thousands of dollars to Wickenburg for infrastructure. I currently serve on the library committee for the town of Wickenburg. I'm also on the education committee through the chamber, which gets me involved with our school district. And I do a number of other things, working with Sherilyn with the cultural organization that's run out of the Garcia Schoolhouse. Or I'm also, both of us serve on the board of governors for the Wickenburg Christian Academy. So we are kind of very much concerned and interested in education. I come tonight for a couple of different reasons. Number one, we're glad that we could help our teachers out at the start of the year, giving them a little something. We know that it was a difficult time switching to online, and we hope that what we did through our company was helpful for the teachers, and we appreciate all the notes that they sent back. But we're now getting started on the next project, which are the food boxes. We've been doing this for a number of years, and I can tell you stories that I don't think I can get through them because I choke up too much. But a number of families just are really hurting, and this year especially. We were able to meet the needs thanks to other organizations in our community, and we're putting up thousands of dollars again. So it's our desire that with each of our schools, if we don't want our kids to be hungry over the Christmas holiday. So it's our desire to see if we can't make that happen again. Our thanks to Bashes, they were wonderful last year. They cut our costs by about 15%, and it helped us do a lot more boxes. And again, that's on our schedule, and if the schools will please advise us who are the families, or you don't have to tell us just the number is what we, and due to our great leadership that we have at each one of our schools, they know who the need is, and if we need extra boxes, they'll figure that out. But if you could help us know, we're going to do everything we can to beat what we did last year, which was, I think, almost 400 boxes. So it was pretty incredible. Secondly, I wanted to talk a little bit about some things that we're doing here in town. Sherilyn mentioned the Children's Cultural Organization. We're upgrading the Little Red Schoolhouse. That's been in the center of our community for years. The Wellick people, both George and Vi Wellick, put a big investment in it when they turned it into a bank many years ago, as some of you know. We don't want that thing just to fall apart. So thanks to a grant from them and some other funds that we were able to receive, we're making some real upgrades to it. And it will be a wonderful place for up to 90 people inside and over 200 people outside to be able to use that facility. It's a great place for meetings, so if you wish to have a spot for meetings, we have a laser projector and a 120-inch screen on the wall and surround sound, and it's, if nothing else, it's a great place to have a party. So it's going to be available. We're almost finished with all the upgrades to make it ADA accessible. With ADA restrooms outside, it'll be helpful when we have town events. So I just want to let you know that an investment that was made in 1905 by the school district, we're going to try to get it back to its roots and have education back in that building with seminars and other opportunities. And finally, I want to bring up one other project that I'm working on. The Pew organization is a well-known research group, and they just recently completed a study that they published earlier this month. And they noted in that study, after they interviewed 60,000 residents around the U.S., that at this point in time, we now have the largest number of young people who have finished their education that have moved back home. They simply can't make it on their own. And there's something wrong with that. to have 53% of our students, after completing their education, ending up back at mom and dad's. There's something wrong. We're missing something. And I thought about that a lot. And ironically, because of the things that we do in our business, which is tools for the professional contractor, I came across an individual here in Phoenix that's built over 5,000 homes. His name is Tom Lewis. And T.W. Lewis is an amazing individual, great builder. He built high-quality products throughout the Scottsdale and East Valley primarily. He's an amazing individual. He grew up in Kentucky. He got his degree from the University of Kentucky. He got his master's degree. His degree was in engineering. He got his master's degree at University of North Carolina. He's been building homes out here, and he's very active with Arizona State University. He's done so well that he actually built the Honors College at University of Kentucky. He's made huge investments at ASU in their Honors College, as well as in North Carolina, his three schools that are near and dear to him. But he continues to point out that we're missing stuff in terms of our education. We are not giving the kids, the young adults, real tools to go on in their life. And so he produced a book that's called Solid Ground. It's an amazing book. I picked it up, I started reading it, and I thought, okay, well, this is about some guy's life. But the more I got into it, the more I realized this guy is really onto something. In fact, the opening of the book is written by our governor, Governor Doug Ducey, and here's what Michael Crow, president of Arizona State, says. All lives require roadmaps to move forward. Tom Lewis, in his fantastic story, Solid Ground, outlines a journey for a life that can inform us all. Resilient, adaptable, focused, sincere, committed, all concepts that are deeply reviewed and clearly articulated. That's from the president of ASU. The president of University of Kentucky, Eli, if I'm saying this right, no, I'm not saying it right. I think it's Campoloto. I've never met him, but at any rate. He says, without sugarcoating anything, Solid Ground equips readers with the tools necessary to overcome real-life obstacles to achieve and sustain life of success. Lewis encourages and challenges those who are eager to build a successful life but unsure how to begin, like 53% of our kids. Okay. I share all this tonight because this got me so intrigued. I don't know this man, but I wrote to him. And I told him that what's wrong with this picture at this point is that a book is easy to read and throw on the shelf. But what we need is to figure out how to help these young people along. And I asked him if he was going to create a workbook, and if he wasn't, I'd like to do one. Well, he called me up, said, come meet with me. And we had a great conversation, and he talked about, well, I was thinking that Harvard would do this. And I kind of rolled my eyes because my thought was, well, all that Harvard wants is your money. And sure enough, I was right. And then he's been talking to ASU. But he got intrigued about what I said, and he said, all right, tell you what, Ed, here's a digital copy of my book. If you want to make a workbook, you go do it. There are 15 sections, 5 groups in each of the 3 sections. I'm through the first 2 with the workbook, and he's pretty excited about it. And my point is, maybe at some point, this is something that we could do as either an after-school thing, maybe at the schoolhouse, I don't know where. But our young adults need to have a solid foundation. That's what this is all about, a solid ground, being able to stand on your own 2 feet. There's concepts in here that are so basic. In fact, they're so old they're biblical. But that's beside the point. The thing is, as much as we're trying to pass exams, are we really getting them prepared for the life ahead, the road ahead? And so I just wanted to let you know that this is a project. I'm 2/3 of the way through it. I'm going to finish the next section, hopefully, in the next 3 to 4 weeks. And if this is something that is worth pursuing within the Wickenburg School District, I would love to have that opportunity to work with you. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you, Ed. Appreciate that. Appreciate all the work that you and your wife do for our community. All right, so we are on to item 4, which is our consent agenda. Does any board member need anything pulled from the consent agenda before we take action? Susan, do you have anything?
No.
Okay, so if we can get a motion on the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to adopt the, approve the consent agenda for October 20th, 2020 as submitted.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. Moving into section 5, action items. Our first action item is a request for approval of financial reports presented by Mrs. Erin Johnson.
As you can see by the report, not a lot has changed since the last month. We're still trending well with our year-to-date expenditures, pretty comparable with last year. I do expect, more funds to start being expended now that we're back in person, using more utilities, those kinds of things. So our budget balances are positive. We are in compliance, and there are no surprises to the best of my knowledge.
Thank you, Erin. Anybody have any questions for Erin or comments? Then we can get a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the financial report as submitted.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Item 5B, request for approval of the guaranteed maximum price for Low Mountain Construction Incorporated for the Festival Foothills Elementary School Design Build Renovation Project.
Would you guys like me to speak about it at all, or are
Hey.
you
Do you,
good?
do you want to hear? Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Well, I've worked very closely with Art, and also we've had meetings that Jim Missel and Denise Bergman have been a part of, and Miss Julie Case as well, to discuss, the scope of the work, the schedule of the work, and what you're seeing here is the middle column is what you're looking at, and that's the GMP amount, so that'd be the guaranteed max price for the project, and I saw the bids, reviewed those, had many discussions about their scope of work, which you saw tonight. I am in favor of what he has in the main section for the GMP amount, and I'd also like to recommend that the board approve alternates 1, 2, and 4.
Any questions or conversation for Erin? Anybody want to make a motion?
That was, I couldn't hear exactly. What was the alternatives that you said?
The alternates that I would like to recommend are alternate number 1, number 2, and number 4.
Okay. And I guess my question is 1, 2, and 4. Where are the piers in those?
In number 1 and number 2? Or I'm sorry. Are you talking about number 5?
Yes.
The phase 2 piers?
You said it is installing helical piers in 1 and 2 and 4 are drainage and coverings, looks like.
The piers are up above.
Yeah, the helical piers are what are on the main buildings that we're repairing. The alternates that are in phase 2 piers are in other areas of the facility that the architect does not feel are necessary at this time. I don't know if Mr. Case would like to speak any more to that, but it hasn't been recommended that those are needed for structural soundness of the buildings.
Okay. So in addition to this, these line items, you're talking about 1,
Correct.
2, and 4.
So what you're seeing in the main section is
Okay.
everything that is necessary to make the buildings structurally sound and safe for our students. The items that you see in the alternates are additional.
Okay. I'm following you. All
That's
right.
okay.
I was confused. Thank you.
doesn't mean that down the road things could change.
Mm-hmm.
So, just, I wanna make that point that you're aware of that. There's no guarantee. The school's been here for a long time already. Anything that we would expect to see as caused from original construction should have manifested itself now, but obviously nobody has a crystal ball. So, just be aware that the recommendations that are there are based on the areas that have active damage that is observed now. It doesn't guarantee that you might have down the road.
Right.
Barbara, do you still want to speak?
No, I just think I was gonna, well, yes, thank you, sir.
You
I was
bet.
just gonna clarify the use of number 1, 2, and 3. We're doing the project in phases, but the alternatives, the alternate, options that, Mrs. Johnson has recommended are listed below, and that's in addition to phase 1, 2, and 3 that we're committed to, that's in the, complete listing of items to bring the buildings to structural soundness, so. And I believe we've provided some information with you about the funding sources that will be used to complete alternate 1, 2, and 5 if, 1, 2, and 4 if approved by the governing board.
Right.
You're good?
Okay.
All right, if we can get a motion put out there?
Okay, I'll make the motion to approve the GMP for the Festival Foothills Design Build Renovation project in the amount of $1,232,227, which includes alternate number 1, alternate number 2, and alternate number 4 to begin construction services.
I'll second.
Is that the right dollar amount?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I'm looking at the GMP amount, and that's not what it is.
Well, this is with the alternates included.
That's adding the alternate.
If you did go all the way.
Okay. All right.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? That motion carries. Item 5C, action item, request for approval of the request for structural changes at the McLennan Elementary School campus as requested by Wickenburg Christian Academy, alteration of room 15 and 16.
Would
Do you
like a
want to,
statement?
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Mr. President and members of the board, we've been working closely with the leadership team at Wickenburg Christian Academy. As you're aware, there are renters at the McLennan campus, and they're a great partnership for us and for the community, and they are requesting some structural changes to make the building more compatible to their use. And before you, you have the request that they have, and they have followed and met all of the specifications and the requirements that we asked for to be in compliant to complete this project.
Anybody have any questions or
No.
make a motion?
No question.
2 separate projects, so we're, yeah.
Okay, get a motion on this first one?
Okay, I move to approve the request for structural changes at McClellan Elementary School for the sunshades.
No, this is the other one,
Oh, the other one, the structural change in the classroom.
correct.
I'll second.
All in favor of that?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Speak up.
That motion carries. Item D is the request from Wickenburg Christian Academy to install the playground shade cover as we see in our report.
Okay, let me move to accept that, the structure, the shade.
Okay,
That's what you thought you were
Structures.
doing before?
was that your motion?
I move to approve the structural changes involving the shade covers at the McLennan School by Wickenburg Christian Academy.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion also carries. Thank you for that. Item 6 are informational items, items for future agendas. I think we've got our little list started somewhere in the dockets. And then item B, we've got our announcements and calendar as decorated by Lynn. Thank you so much for that, Lynn. And then before everybody runs away, we do have things to sign, so don't run away. So now we can get item 7 taken care of, which is my favorite part.
I move to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries, and we are adjourned at 7:25.
Freaking easy.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.